Welcome to our webinar today on PBIS, Teaching Bus Behavior Expectations. This is brought to you by the Transportation Department for JCPS and the Behavior Support Systems Department. The Behavior Support Systems Department is under the umbrella of Culture and Climate, and that's led by Dr. Katie D. Ferrari. She's the Assistant Superintendent, and Dr. Naomi Brahim is the department leader. I am Dr. Ann Morgan, and I will be leading you today through this webinar. And I work for the NTSS Behavior Department. So here's an overview of what we're going to do today. What is PBIS, which is Positive Behavior Intervention Supports, and how do we use PBIS on the bus? It's a note from the bus driver. He wants all students to stop eating sugar cereals for breakfast. He says he can't deal with 30 sugar highs early in the day. Now, I'm sure you guys may have had a day like that, a day or two like that. And the thing is, we never know what kind of day the kids have had before they get on the bus. What happened at home that night? What happened at home that morning? What are they going to school to? Like, what are they expecting when they get to school? So those are things that affect how they're behaving on your bus. Maybe they're super excited because they have a pep rally. They're bouncing off the seats. Or maybe they're super sad because they have a test. So those are things that we have to keep in mind when we're dealing with the kids. So PBIS, it looks different in every school, and it'll look different on every bus. It's going to be tailored to you and your personality and how you want it to look, because it's something you're going to do every day. It becomes a part of the way you are and the way you do things. So I'm going to show you a video, and it's got different schools in it from the district, and it'll show you how PBIS looks throughout the district.
Positive Behavior Interventions and Supports, or PBIS, is a multi-tiered approach for improving student, academic, and behavioral outcomes. Currently implemented in more than 20,000 schools across the country today, PBIS involves the entire school in proactive planning to increase social and academic success. Often considered a program, PBIS is actually a decision-making framework for selecting and evaluating curriculum. Schools determine what best fits the needs of their students and staff, then use the framework to identify programs that are working and those that aren't. Schools begin by looking at their overall culture and climate, which guides them in creating a specific plan to address their concerns. For example, they may determine that students have difficulty in the hallways during the morning, or that the cafeteria is a problem during a certain time of day. This information is used to create and teach a set of school-wide behavior expectations that will improve problem areas. Additionally, the school agrees on the best way to supervise, encourage, and provide feedback to students on a regular basis. For example, the school may put stickers on the hallway floor to help students maintain a traffic pattern. And problems in the cafeteria may be solved by teaching specific cleanup procedures and having teachers interact more often with students. PBIS schools develop teams of teachers, administrators, and staff members who meet often to discuss the action plan put in place. The PBIS team will then monitor the action plan throughout the year to see if changes need to be made for the success of the students. Successes are celebrated across the school, and identified areas for growth are used to revise ineffective strategies. Monitoring the action plan does more than just look at school-wide goals. It can be used to find individual students who are in need of additional support. When the PBIS framework is applied consistently, students who need extra support are identified and resources are provided appropriately. PBIS creates the foundation to support all students, all staff, in all settings. This foundation is crucial to the success of other school-wide programs. Schools using PBIS create an environment where positive behavior is the norm, resulting in an improvement in behavior and academic growth.
So what is PBIS? It's an approach that focuses on improving the quality of life by reducing behaviors of concern and improving pro-social behavior. They talked about that in the video. They talked about how the behavior, the good behavior, the behavior you want to see, desired behavior, becomes the normal. And this becomes that becomes what everybody's used to. Because you have done it and you've practiced it, and it's something that you repeat to the kids, and it becomes part of who you are. Positive behavior interventions and supports increases positive behavior by creating a positive climate guided by values, teaching and reinforcing positive behavior within the current context. Now, they talked about having problem areas. You might want to do the same thing. Maybe you have problems in the afternoon that you don't have in the morning, or maybe you have problems in the morning that you don't have in the afternoon, or when you go to certain schools, or when you go to certain depots. So you might want to look at that, your data, and think about how it affects you and your kids. Changing the environment and adult behavior, preventing the probability of problem behaviors. I like the ways we talk about this when we say probability, because there's always an outlier. You know, there's one or two that just aren't really on the same page as us. But for the most part, it increases the probability of getting that desired behavior. And that's what we want. That's what we want to see. Responding to behavior errors similarly to learning errors. So what we're talking about is you might have done this, if you have kids and you had NTI, you may have been home doing this, teaching math and teaching science and social studies. And you know that if your student or your child didn't get math, you had to reteach it. You didn't just go, oh, well, you didn't get it, sorry, and then yell at them for not knowing it. If they didn't get social studies, you had to reteach it. That you just didn't go, oh, well, and punish them for not knowing it. So it's the same thing with behavior. You have to teach it to them, and then you can expect them to know it and behave the way they've been taught. And you're gonna keep reiterating that and going over those desired behaviors with the student. There are some challenges. Low student to adult ratios, and I know on the bus it's hard because your number one duty is to keep them safe, and we know that. Over half the K-12 students ride the bus in the U.S., an average of 54 students per route, and there's limited supervision. That's what we're talking about. There's limited, but you're doing all you can. We know this. There's limited supervision. That gives the kids some downtime. They get really loud. They start these problem behaviors and disruptive social interactions. And it becomes problematic behavior. So, like if they're just name calling, the name calling could become throwing pencils, smacking each other in the head, kicking each other, getting up out of their seats and running back to each other. So we have to keep an eye on those behaviors, and we're trying to reduce those or eliminate them. So limited resources, safety focus, we talked about that, need for behavior management, bus interventions in a different context, and research is lacking because not many people have studied the research of students on the bus and how to manage the behavior. And this one is for driving a school bus. So he's gotten a medal. He's gotten a medal of honor for driving a school bus, and that's what you all deserve. I could never drive a school bus, but this is going to make it better for you. This is going to make life better. PBIS makes life better. It's going to help you with talking to the kids. You'll have a PBIS poster on your bus and the front of your bus, and when you talk to the students, you will refer back to it. You guys have that, and you've seen it in the district because we started this last year. And you can say, I'm sorry, I feel sad when you're running, Susie, because you might fall and get hurt. That's not very safe, and point to your S for safety. That's not very safe. And you keep redoing it to the kids. I feel sad, Tommy, when you're turned around backwards in your seat, because that's not very safe, and you point to safe. Or a student is cussing, and you feel concerned because they're cussing, and that's not very respectful. And so you always go back to your expectations. You always go back to expectations. Another thing is that makes it where the students know that you're not just picking on them. It's not random. You're not just picking on them. Well, she did it and you didn't get on her. Well, he did it. You said the same thing to him. Why are you picking on me? It's not random. It's based on the expectations that everybody knows, everyone was taught, everyone went over, and so that's why you're doing it. So we're going to talk about the first contact. You guys are the first contact from the school that the kids have in the morning, and you determine how their day is going to go. So how is this contact going to look? Is it going to look like a hostile contact, or is it going to look like a calm, mellow contact, or what kind of relationship is there going to be shown?
Are you coming along?
Mama said not to be taking rides from strangers.
This is the bus to school.
I'm Forrest Gump.
I'm Dorothy Harris.
Well, now we ain't strangers anymore.
So there, she realized and recognized, okay, this student needs something. He needs something. And he reached out to her for the relationship, and she responded appropriately for the relationship, for a positive relationship. And so now his first step of the day is positive. He's going to start his day off with a good foot and a good note because he had a positive interaction with his bus driver. So that's very positive. Now he can walk into the school ready for his day. So let's think about understanding the problem. The referrals that are written in schools are mostly classroom referrals. You can see here that 77% of them are classroom referrals. But the very next referrals are written on the bus. Almost 12% are written on the bus. And that's crazy. So there are some problems being had on the bus that we need to address. And we're doing this based on data. So we need to address this based on the data that we're getting on referrals from the kids. Are having problems, and we need to make sure we're helping you so you don't have any problems. So these are some things that we're going to address with PBIS. Clear expectations make a great day. I hate it when people ask me to do stuff and I'm not clear on what they want. They're like, take it over there. And I'm like, what is it? Or the stuff will be here in a little bit. What is the stuff? Or it'll come then. When is then? So you have to be clear on your expectations. And this is what it's going to show you about PBIS of being clear to the kids, clear and consistent.
When I first took this route, this is a route that pretty much drivers didn't want because of the behavior issue. They were uncontrollable the first month, and now they're great. Hi, my name is John Ringgold. I've been with transportation for going on 2 years. It's a simple concept, basically lays out a simple verbiage of being safe, respectful, responsible, and cooperative, and is letting the students know that it goes both ways. Students and adults have to respect that. At first, with anything that's new, it was kind of getting used to it, but after a while, it's working because the kids, doesn't matter if they get on the bus, they hear the word safe, be respectful, responsible, and cooperative. And then when they get off the bus and they're walking down there, the teachers say to us, hey, you're not being safe, going into the building. Teachers, coaches, janitors, everyone use the same verbiage, and they hear it over and over and over with the same tone. And just remember, when you're at the bus stop, during the bus ride, and off the bus at school, please be safe, respectful, responsible, and cooperative. Thank you. You guys are awesome, and have a wonderful day. That's the hardest part, is being consistent and talking to a good student and a behavior student use the same tone. And after a while, they're like, wow, they see adult and they hear what you're trying to teach versus a screaming adult screaming all the time. Good morning. Seeing a sad student or student in distress or whatever situation in their life, coming on a bus and just saying good morning, have a good day, and they don't respond, but you know you planted that seed. And then the greatest gratification is one day they're getting off the bus or getting on the bus and say, good morning, Mr. Bus Driver. And that's the greatest gratification for me because I get chills because you just planted a seed in that child, and I could be the only one that's being positive and showing them a positive structure and seeing them kind of turn around. And I think maybe that will give that student something to look forward to. I show them respect, and then in return they're showing me respect. So PBIS, in my heart, it works. It's not adult versus students anymore. It's we're all on the same team, and we all have one important commodity as students, to make them safe and educating them in a positive way.
Okay. So he's talked about being positive, talked about being consistent, and he also talked about how important it is to be that positive force in their life, that when you make that connection with them, it's got to be a positive interaction. So this is looking at your expectations, your bus expectations. Short statement, bus. That's great. Positive statement, talk about what to do and instead of what not to do. So for instance, this says be responsible. So as you're talking about what to do. It's memorable. It's pretty easy to remember bus when you're on the bus. And this is an example. Be responsible, use respect, stay safe, bus. So how does this work on the bus? You post and teach your expectations. They should be posted on the front of the bus where the kids can see it. And you use expectations to review and redirect kids. So when you point to the expectations and go over it with the kids, you want to say like, the kid's getting on the bus with a sandwich, and you want to say, oh, I'm sorry, but you can't have that sandwich on here because that's not very safe. And you point to safe, and you talk about that, and it's even listed on your matrix. So it would be great if you had your matrix there, and you could show the student your matrix and say, see, right, it's right here, I'm sorry. And you know, that way it's not you're not asking the student to do something they don't want to do. It's the expectations, it's the rules, it's the expectations asking them to do it. So that's great if you use the matrix, and always use the expectations when you are redirecting students. Encourage schools to use bus expectation videos. And I would also talk to the schools about using bus language when the kids get off and on the bus. Be responsible, use respect, stay safe. So when you're being responsible, you're on your best behavior, follow driver directions, no food or drink on the bus, and keep the bus clean. Use respect, listen to your driver, use the inside voice, keep hands, feet, and objects to yourself, and use appropriate language. Stay safe. Stay seated at all times. Keep hands, head, and feet inside the bus. Please do not distract the driver, and watch for the driver's signal before crossing the street. Very important. And this is the matrix I was telling you about. So if you have this matrix just like on the side on a clipboard or something that you can show to the kids when you're having interactions with them, when you're having those discussions, that would be great. And then you also have your bus expectations posted there on the wall for them to see. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing PBIS? Because it creates a universal language, something that you know the expectations, the students know the expectations, the teachers know the expectations, creates consistency across settings, helps adults problem solve with students, and changes the climate by focusing on what to do instead of what not to do. It focuses attention on desired behaviors, going back to the expectations, increases the likelihood of repetition of desired behaviors, because when the kids are being rewarded, when they're being acknowledged in a positive way, then you want to keep that up. You want to keep that up. If you were in a classroom or if you're on the bus and little Susie was turned around backwards, and she turned around forward and faced forward, and you said, "Thank you, little Susie, for turning around and facing forward. I appreciate that." And then the other kids might be like, "Well, I want you to thank you." "Oh, thank you, Mark, for turning around and facing forward. I appreciate that." "Well, let me get a thank you." And then they all kind of fall in and do that. So that's something that you increase the likelihood of repeating those positive behaviors. It fosters a positive climate. It reduces the amount of time spent on correcting unwanted behaviors. Because, it takes much longer to correct a behavior than it does to focus on planning a positive behavior at the beginning. Students who feel connected to the adults around them are more likely to want to demonstrate positive behavior. They like you, they have a relationship with you. So of course they don't want to make you upset. They don't want you angry. They want to show you that they can be good. Students need a variety of positive relationships to stay connected to school, and positive relationships decrease the likelihood that conflict will occur. So they don't want you upset. Students need information about what to do when they're off track. Show them those expectations, show them the matrix, talk to them about that. Viewing problem behavior as a learning error reduces emotions and conflicts. Remember we talked about teach it, reteach it, let the kids learn it, like math or science. So this is not something that you attack like, why are you so? It's not like that. It's like, okay, you didn't understand what it means to be safe. So let me reteach you what it means to be safe. And you go over the expectations again. Corrections allow adults to both remind the student about the expected behavior and what the behavior needs to change to, what it should look like. So when problem behavior occurs, verbal redirection. Joseph, please sit down. Restate the expectation. Joseph, to stay safe, keep your back to back, your seat to seat, and your feet to floor. Use proximity to seat the students closer to you or a model student. So maybe you want to be able to see that student, keep your eye on them, or you can put them next to somebody who's going to model the behavior that you want them to exhibit. Speak with school staff for additional support. You might want to talk to your AP or your principal if you do need some extra support. We're going to talk a little bit about support more in just a minute. Complete an office discipline referral if you need to. We're going to talk about that a little more. So responding to problem behavior. Verbal redirection. Now this is something that I think of all the time, because when I was learning in school, I'd have to have it verbally said to me, then I'd want to see it written down, then I'd want to see a picture of it, then I'd want to see it in action, actually happening. So you can't just tell a kid something and be like, okay, well, it's done. Or you can't just show it to them and say, it's up there, why don't you read it? It's not going to work that way. You have to teach it to them and go over it, remind them. So you can have verbal redirection, state the expectation in a clear and neutral tone. I need you to, in order to stay safe on the bus. Use peer models, assign bus buddies to model expectations. Providing praise to model students can prompt desired behaviors, because they want to be praised too, because they have a good relationship with you and they want you to be happy with them. They want you to be proud of them. And attention getters and signal cues. This is really good, especially if the bus gets a little loud. Then having these visuals work really well. Alert students when you are about to give important information. Gain attention of the whole bus quickly. So if you say, give me 5, or you put up 5 fingers, then they see that. If they see you like this, then they'll know, okay, give her 5, or give him 5. And they'll get quiet for you. Or you can do the call and response. All set, and they'll say, you bet. 1, 2, 3, eyes on me. And they say, 1, 2, eyes on you. 3, 2, 1, and the kids clap for the safety signal. So this is what I was telling you we were going to get to in just a minute. This is the behavior flow chart. And so this talks a little bit about how to receive help when you need it from other avenues. So the things that are green, these are things that you can handle on your own. A student standing, using profanity, you're teasing someone. These are things that you're going to have to turn into the office. Weapons, illegal acts, drugs, things like that. You will have to turn that into the office. And these are things that are left up to your discretion. Do you feel like the bullying was very intense and it was severe and it's been going on for a while and you want to turn it in? Or do you feel like this is the first day it's ever happened and it's not that bad, and the student said he was sorry and he made up with the other student and they both agree that everything's okay and they're good to go and it's okay, then you could do that. You could leave it down here. So you want to be sure you use this. Sometimes, you might get a little caught up in where to go. Everything doesn't deserve a referral. You have to remember that everything doesn't deserve a referral. Some things just deserve reminders about the expectations. So how does this work on the bus? Remind all students about the bus expectations. Encourage students who are demonstrating the desired behaviors. Thank you, little Susie, for setting their face forward. I appreciate it. And then you're telling them, giving them good behavior, good feedback, and that's going to increase your positive behavior. And it's going to increase because other kids are going to want positive behavior, positive feedback from you. Encourage students who are demonstrating the desired behaviors. Make clear, calm, and specific requests for behavior to change. So you have to remember, you have to stay calm, because when you kind of get elevated, the kids get elevated. So you have to stay calm, and it has to be clear, especially if they're upset, because their minds are racing and they really can't understand a lot that you're saying to them anyway. So you have to get them calmed down and be specific on your request and use the expectations. Go back to expectations. Use a neutral, emotion-free tone and give students time to comply with the request. I know it's hard. I know sometimes you feel like, I said sit down right now, but sometimes they need a minute to process it. Give them time to comply with the request. Here's some takeaways from the training. Managing student behavior while driving a bus is a challenge, and we know that, because you have to pay attention to the road, and you have so much going on that it's hard to pay attention to all these kids that are on there as well, and some of them are pretty good distance away from you. You are not in this alone. The schools and homes are your partners. Call parents. You can call parents. Talk to them when they're at the bus stop. Talk to people at school. Talk to the AP. Talk to principals at school. Children behave the way they do for a reason. So you've got this good relationship, and now the student is going to behave positively because they want to keep it positive. They want you happy with them. They want to not disappoint you. They want to create empathy. They want you to be proud of them. So if they're acting another way, maybe that's something that's going on in their life. We talked about that. Maybe it's something at school. Maybe it's something at home. Maybe they think you don't like them. That happens sometimes too. But you need to talk and get that ironed out. Desired behavior must be taught just like math or science, and PBIS works. So you can contact my colleague, Ronzell Smith, or you can contact myself, Dr. Ann Morgan, at these email addresses. And this is the end of our webinar. Thank you so much for joining us today.